bids are in. The gavel is dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, here at WineBid, we are finally hammered. That's right. This is WineBid's podcast to get all things wine value, wine retail, wine auctions, and just wine. My name is Jeff McGurn. I'm here with the WineBid marketing team. With me, as always, is Paul Walker, our wine expert, the abbot of Arbois. That's right, Paul. Paul, that's his nickname. Paul knows everything about wine. Today, we're going to be doing a recap episode. We were off last week because of the holidays, and there is a ton to discuss. We're going to be recapping the last 2 weeks, but it is a new year. Happy New Year, Paul. Happy New Year to all of our 7 listeners, 6 of them who are AI bots on the internet. What do you like? I mean, it's been a crazy year, 2023. Going into 2024, are you excited? Have you made any New Year's resolutions?
Yeah, find more deals,
Find more deals on.
I try to
find more deals on wine.
Drink better deal wine every year because I always get caught up in ruts of things that I'm into, and then realize that either the price has gone crazy or there's value in some other territory. And it's funny because we've watched prices change in Burgundy and Piedmont and other places, and then there's totally under the radar things that are happening, and I don't know. It's always fun to find new things to try. So I just like to look for, interesting wines from places where I haven't tried before, because I'm no expert, even though you say that at the beginning every time.
That's what an expert would say.
Quite the opposite. And no, there's always and then we see stuff when we review the recap. We're like, wait a minute, I didn't see that. Who got this? Who found this?
Every time I'm like,
how did I not know? $25 or something.
Well, there's some I'm literally looking at some right now in the recap where I'm like, oh God, I didn't know that was up. I would have bought some of that.
It's pretty amazing.
There's a lot of really, really cool stuff out there. So let's jump right into it. 2024 is going to be an interesting year for wine. 2023 certainly was. We saw a big shift in the market. There's been a lot of movement in a lot of different areas. But if we're looking at, let's talk about wines over the last couple of weeks that had the most bids. Right. So we saw the most action. I thought it was kind of interesting. I mean, once again, we kept talking about this, a lot of action at the sub $100 level, particularly around this 2018 Chateau Tour Saint Christophe. 8 bids, sold 5 of them. They went from 30 to 37, which may not seem crazy, but that's actually a pretty big increase, for that.
Yeah, it's a Bordeaux Saint-Emilion producer. I don't know, but I noticed that just looking at it, it's got some pretty serious scores. I think that's a value right bank Bordeaux. It's probably, I bet it retails for something north of 40.
For sure. Well, back in 2021, this was going for $57 a bottle.
The 18?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So it's come down a bit. I mean, 30 probably was a really good price.
That's a good deal.
30 was a good deal.
We're talking about we've been mentioning, various vintages, recent vintages of Bordeaux have been such good deals. And this looks like yet another example, of a Saint-Emilion wine that's, probably retails for closer to 50 now that I think about it, or even more, hammering at $36. That's not a bad deal.
Dude, that's not crazy. I mean, that's not crazy at all. It's a great vintage, Yeah,
it's probably, I wonder if it's drinking young or if it's, needs a couple of years, but either way, that's not terribly expensive for a nice bottle of Bordeaux.
I don't think that's terribly expensive.
What's with these grams? These 97 grams almost doubled in price.
Yeah, right? 35 to 66 after 8 bids. These 97 grams.
Well, 35 just seems comically low.
I know, for a 97.
97 grams. So.
Right, you're looking at, was it 27 years of age for 35
65 makes a lot more sense.
That makes a lot more sense. Well, and then you had this 1994 Quinta do Vesuvio, 7 bids, took 2 of those from 60 to 71.
Yeah, that makes sense too. It's another, great port vintage. And I'm guessing this wouldn't be that easy to replace. I mean, port comes into auction, obviously, probably more often towards the holidays, the end of the year, but still, his 94s are not, you can't find them at retail. So that makes sense. It's not a terrible price.
What about the 19 Durial?
Yeah, see, this is one of my picks because these
Ruby.
Doré Gential wines always get a lot of attention, and there were six of them, and all six got bid up more than double.
Double, yeah. 60
Yeah.
to 130, 70.
No, the Doré Gential wines are super popular, and they, I think this was the first six of this Rouilly. We've sold other Rouillys before, I think also from, 19, probably 18 and other recent vintages. But yeah, every time they come in, and they come in, every couple of weeks, I always mention them because it's one of those hot names. And this one doubled.
This is no exception. We had the 88 Castellano di Montesanto Chianti Classico Poggio Reserva. Two of those got six bids, taking them 65 to 77.
Yeah, that's a rare one. These wines were really great in the 80s, and that's not something you could find and readily at all. The last time it was in a year ago. So I guess then previously it was in 21, then previously 17. So not terribly often.
What about this 78 Chateau Chevalier Cabernet Sauvignon, which started at 35, get six bids, and took it at 71 where it hammered?
Yeah. So this is like a defunct winery from Napa, and I forget. Obviously, as not being an expert, I don't know the history, but no doubt the vineyard has been, probably sold and or transferred a number of times. But I'm sure it's probably really, really tasty wine, and that's a phenomenal 70s vintage. So finding at any decent 78 California, cab for, I mean, $35 is
35. Yeah.
Comically low. So $71 seems much more in line.
One thing I thought was super interesting was to see the 2016 Lynch Bages get bid up. Six bids, took 12 of them.
Yeah.
From 130 to 1.
That's curious, right? Like why would this happen? Because other vintages, 18, 19, 20s even.
Well, it's not like 16 Lynch Bages is like ultra rare or anything. Like, oh, we never see these come down. No. I mean, we had like October, September, August, July, June, May.
Yeah,
March.
It doesn't. To me, that doesn't make sense as to why it jumped up. I mean, I guess it's weird too because the I'm just looking at like the list of recent vintages and the scores. Like the 19 hammered for 145, which are super high scores. But I don't know. That's kind of strange.
Here's what I don't understand is you saw this go up to 160 in January of 2022, which is to be expected because everything was on the rise then, because of the whole, because COVID. Actually, no, it got up to 180 in 2022 in April, right? Then it started dropping, right? 155, 140, 135. And it is pretty, well, it got to 130 this year. So it's stuck at 135 for
it sat at 130 for multiple months.
It sat at 130 from June all the way till October.
Yeah.
And
it was in pretty much consistently every month.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden now it's worth $160.
It's kind of strange. I don't get it. Like it doesn't make sense. That's something that doesn't make sense.
It does not. Yeah, that market. But the crazy thing was that happened on there were 3 different lots where that happened.
Yeah,
one of the lots had all the lots had multiple bottles.
That's true. Yeah, there were three lots of let's see. Yeah, there were 3 lots, 6, 3, and 3, and they all got bid up to at least 60.
If in October you had bought 10,000 cases of 16 Lynch Bages.
Now there are 10,000 cases. You're not totally off on your investment advice today.
Yeah. I tried.
As ridiculous as it still may be.
As ridiculous as it is. 2017 Envenate.
Yeah, so this is so funny. Like Canary Islands whites and reds seem to be having this moment because these Envenate wines are popping up almost every week, and there are big scores. This one got a big score anyway. There's a lot of interest in them. I think, obviously they're being represented and or distributed across the country, at least somewhere, which is interesting because you don't see a lot of Canary Island wines. Although I did see one on a wine list up in Tahoe, white. It wasn't Aminate, but it was a Canary Island white by the glass, which I thought was pretty cool that they had up there. But anyway, yeah, so they're getting some, I would say I would attribute this to the score, frankly, but maybe not. Who knows?
I mean, this is fascinating. Fascinating to see these like coming and get bid up 65-75 after 6 bids.
I think there's other Aminate wines in the auction right now. It's not like they're exceedingly rare,
Right. Well, I'll tell you one that I thought was super interesting was this, and I guess we've talked about this before, but it's like 2018 Silver Oak that got 6 bids.
It keeps getting attention.
Like it keeps getting like, am I missing something? Like what am I missing with Silver Oak? Did something happen?
It's weird. It's weird. It's like last few times it's been an auction, it keeps getting bid up, and the reserve also keeps getting pushed up, right? The reserve was 80.
Well, it was 80. It was 80
$80 back in October, and then it got up to 90. Now it's up to 95 because it hammered at 120?
No, it hammered at this. It hammered at 110, 120.
110. Okay.
Well, 110 and 120. There were 2 lots.
Okay.
Because starting at the beginning of December, that's kind of a meteoric rise. At 3 months, you're looking at, it's not double, but it's up like 60%, 70%.
Yeah, that's quite curious.
Here's another one. You could go buy 10,000 cases. You just go.
Well, yeah, but it's going to cost you more than 120, I think, at the winery or at retail.
Well, yeah, unless maybe you get.
It's still a deal. That's the thing. It's still a deal at auction to buy, even the 18. So.
I don't know. I'm a little bit shocked. I don't know. I'm a little bit surprised. I guess you look at like some of the retail websites and they're selling at like 160. Maybe that's it. That like they started, selling the new vintage.
And it's probably the 18's not. I would imagine it's probably not that readily available at retail anymore. Even if places list it, it's unlikely that they might have that inventory.
I'll bet you that's the case. 03 Quinta do Noval, 6 bids from 40 to 51.
Yeah, another port that got bid. That's kind of funny.
That was super interesting. Let's see. What else we got here? Antikythera, Pinot Noir, the Antikythera, Pinot Noir, 3 of them, 5 bids from 150 to 180 a bottle. Yeah. So seeing some, but Antikythera usually gets like a good amount of attention.
Yeah, it gets a lot of action these days.
One I thought was cool because I love Sicilian wines, and you almost never see, you never see a lot of action or I never seem to see a ton of action on Sicilian wines. This 2015 Ariana Occhipinti. Yeah,
Occhipinti is a very hot producer and has been. It's been very hip on the sort of natural wine scene for at least 20 years. So that's cool though, because it's it's a 10-year-old, now 11-year-old example. So that's another one where good luck replacing that wine.
Well, yeah, I
don't think we've ever sold it. We've never sold it at all. So
it started at 50, hammered at 106. You're talking about a pretty,
Yeah, I want to say that this particular designation is also a rare wine. It's not, you can find Occhipinti by the glass at nice Italian restaurants. Obviously, current vintage, you're not going to get something 10 years old, but like I would imagine A16, for example, in San Francisco probably has some of their wines on the list. But this wine, it's the 10 degree. I don't know if it's like a 10 degree slope vineyard or what. I'm no expert, but it's not, let's just say, a readily available wine. So that's pretty wild though. I would not have expected that kind of action.
No, I was definitely surprised at that level of action of that. And I will tell you though, like I purchased at auction on WineBid, I purchased some, organic biodynamic Nerello Mascalese, and oh my God, was it good. Like it was so incredibly good. I don't even want to tell you the name. I don't even remember the name of the bottle, but I don't even want to tell you because it was that delicious. I do not want any competition buying that wine because it's
Well, that's yet another place where there are known producers like OQPT and Terranera and stuff like that, and then other producers that don't have the representation, and they sneak by in the auction for sure.
Think about it. We had some 74 BV cabs sell for jump up from $80 to $93.
Yeah, that's not surprising. I mean,
great
here
vintage.
we are, 50-year birthday vintage. So
that's my prediction is that like what I should have done is bought a bunch of really marquee 2020 like multiples of 2024, like 74s, 84s, 90s.
Well, 74s has been prohibitively expensive. The top
crazy
lines.
expensive. But my point is this, that like anything that ends in a 4 is probably going to go up this year.
Yeah, I mean, 74 BV, like the Georgia Latour, I want to say is probably at least double this. It's probably at least a couple $100, but non-reserve labeling, it's not terrible. It's let's see, I was trying to see what it hammered for before. Yeah, $80. So I jumped up a decent amount, but if it comes in again this year, I'm sure it'll shoot up over 100. You see, like 2012, like Conseillant, that got bid up quite a bit too. Went from 120 to 170 or 175. It looks like.
Yeah, I was a little surprised at that because I mean I don't know, like that's not like a crazy,
not an epic vintage, but I'm sure it's really really good though. I'm sure.
Oh, for sure, I'm sure it's absolutely fantastic.
And I mean, comparatively, it's not expensive like 20-30-year-old examples. Also, did you see the Daniel Estate, the like non-Dominus label wine, got bid up from $50 to $220?
Crazy movement. Yeah,
that's pretty cool because it's weird too, because this wine is like really, really rare. You don't see it. And it's not actually Dominus, but I believe it's from the Napanook vineyard and bottled by John Daniel Society. And so it's like this weird, not even second label of Dominus, but there have been other bottles in recent auctions, like including, I think, the 86 or no, and maybe the 85. Anyway, maybe it was the 83 actually. And it didn't go for a whole lot of money. It went for 110. So this one was pretty serious at 220. I would not have expected that, but it's a neat, like rare California example.
Yeah, very unexpected. The 16 Claude de Tart went from 475, sold at like just over $600. I was a little surprised.
That stuff's getting real steep.
Getting super, super steep. 73 Chateau Talbot went from 50 to 110 after 5 bids.
Yeah, that's interesting, actually. More than double. That's pretty interesting. 73. I mean, that's a challenging vintage.
Yeah, somebody.
I'd spend a little more money on the 2012 Le Conseillant, unless somebody had to get a 73 right before the end of the year.
Well, but that's the thing. They got it on the like.
That's true. They got it
up on Sunday.
They couldn't pick it up on New Year's Eve. Yeah, it was too late as it is.
It was too late to pick it up, so it was like not much that
that's true.
Really do there. All right, let's take a look at some of the high priced items, shall we?
69 Chapelet. I had to beat
69. We talked about the 69 Chapelet. It spent 1 week at auction, rolled over, and then got
okay. So it took 2 weeks to sell, basically.
It took 2 weeks. To sell.
No, 2 weeks. Yeah,
2 weeks. Right. I think it only saw one auction that it didn't sell, in the week after it sold.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks. So no one chomped on it the first week. That was it. But a lot of trackers, a lot of people looking at it.
A lot of trackers. Then we've got basically the next 10
spots of Screaming Eagle. For $2,000? That's crazy.
Wait, what's that?
94 Harlan. I saw it sold for $2,000 on the 24th on Christmas Eve. That's wild. It's a lot. I mean, that's a rare one. That's a tough one to replace too. 92 Eagle went for what? 79.35. That's inaugural vintage. That's pretty impressive. So yeah, there's a lot of Screaming Eagle was in the auction. A lot of California.
There was a ton of Screaming Eagle in the auction. There was a little bit of DRC. The Corton Charlemagne, the 2020 sold for $63.45, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, because I feel like that wine was around for a little bit. Did it sell? It did sell for more previously. I think it did. Yeah, it sold for 7,400 back in October. So that one dropped a little bit.
I mean, this is what this is what we're talking about. There's some movement in the market. That's a pretty big move for DRC to go down $1,000 over the course of, that's
a couple months.
Months. That's a pretty steep drop in price there. You've got this 96 Chateau Latour 3 liter that had 3 bids. It took it from 2,800 to where it sold at $3,000.
Yeah, that was definitely one of our picks because there was just an embarrassment of riches in the Christmas Eve auction. There was so much crazy stuff because we did do a podcast, I think, that the week before Christmas, and that was definitely one of our picks. I still thought that wasn't a terrible deal at 2,800. So I'm not too surprised it got bid up over 3,000. Or no, hammer for 3,000.
Hammer for 3,000.
That sounds right. That sounds right to me.
I know you love your favorite Ghost Horse 2017 Ghost Horse.
I didn't know Ghost Horse was back on the scene.
Back on the scene, 2660 for that 017.
And it's a fire vintage. 17. That's a tough year.
I'm kind of surprised at that,
Yeah.
01 Harlan Estate at 2,600. The 74 Heights Martha's Vineyard for 2,450.
Yeah, and I think that was another pick in the Christmas Eve auction because there was just a crazy amount of killer stuff, and that one was in great shape too. So not surprised there.
And then let's talk about some of the winners, huh?
Yeah, sure.
Weekly winners, and we don't have all of this for the most recent, but some of the interesting stuff that we saw in these last auctions. 01 Angelus for 400. That's a high on record. Previous high was in 2018 at 388. So
yeah, that's expensive for sure. 01 Angelus. I mean, Angelus is all coming up. All vintages seem to be
they're getting more expensive. They're getting more.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot for sure.
That's a lot.
89 Beaucastel Homage, that was one of my picks too. And 765. I mean, I think Jeff, I think at the pickup party, if I'm not mistaken, we had an 89 Beaucastel, the non-homage bottling, and it was phenomenal.
I'm 99.99% sure that is correct, that we did.
Yeah. We drank an 89, but I've always wanted to have the homage because it was such a great vintage for the standard, if you will, Beaucastel. So that's 765. That's a pretty serious price.
94 Harlan Estate, that $2,050. That was a high.
Yeah, 2,050 over $2,000. Yeah, that is crazy.
Although here's the interesting. It had that's a recent high. In 2021, it sold $3,333.
Wow.
It was kind of a crazy price for something to sell at. But
yeah, that's wild.
The Judge, 05 Kongsgaard, the Judge sold for $575.
Yeah, $575. That's a mature example. It's not a young one.
Yes, it is. Yeah, a very mature example of the Judge.
I mean, I'm not going to talk trash. Those wines do age. I've had some older Judge wines, but I think we drank in 07 at that big blowout.
We had a dinner. We were drinking. I think it was.
Yeah, and it was holding together.
I thought it was good. I mean, you could tell it had some age on it. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, it was rich and caramely, but it wasn't oxidized, but it was good. But it was mature for sure. But yeah, 05 at 575. It's not kidding. 78
Mayacamas Cabernet Sauvignon for $925. Previous number was $475.
925. That's going to go over 1,000 pretty soon.
Yeah.
Especially as we creep towards 50-year vintage. Those fortunate individuals who were born in 78, because it's again, I think it's still not. It's not at the crazy range that the 74s are right now. So, but I'm sure next few years it's going to jump.
I'm waiting for one of these days. We're going to get, because we get an email from our team every week with the analysis of this stuff. And I'm waiting for the day we get this email and it's like 2018 Silver Oak Cabernet Sauvignon Napa Valley, a high of $162. Previous high was at Costco for $130. Right, something like that. I'm waiting for that day. Non-vintage VV Port for $730.
Yeah, I wonder if this is some like super rare Solera or something. I don't know what this wine is.
'07 Vega Sicilia Unico for 415 and the '08 for 400. And then, of course, we had an '01 Bond St. Eden that went up to 500. So Bond's continue.
Yeah, Bond's still breaking records, has been for the last few months. It's wild.
Anything else before we wrap this up?
No, I think that was about it. And there's, some pretty incredible wines in last couple of weeks for sure. But no, I mean, that sounds like, that's a good place to stop.
Yep. And with WineBid's Finally Hammered, this has been Jeff McGurn and Paul Walker wishing you happy bidding and cheers.
Cheers.